So welcome to in the latest of Partner Focus podcasts delivered by Somerford Associates. Today we are going to focus on a discussion with our longest and largest partner, Splunk. And today the focus of that discussion will be all about the Splunk Edge Hub. We're joined today by a couple of experts, and in the interests of chivalry, I will start with Becca. Can you introduce yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, of course. I'm Becca. I'm part of the technical team at Somerford Associates, and I've been working with the Edge Hub since it got introduced to us in June last year.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And
thank you very much for being here. I'm excited to be part of the Somerford podcast series. My name's Lerry Wilson. I've been at Splunk for 8.5 years. I work in the global partner organization, looking on new opportunities for us. And the Edge Hub is an opportunity for us to expand our enterprise platform into new markets. And very excited to be working with our partners to take it to market.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start with you then, Larry, because you are probably the inspiration behind a lot of the implementation of the Edge Hub. What is it? Can you just sort of explain what is it and how it's designed to support and enhance business effort?
Yeah, as you know, Splunk is all about business resiliency. And so part of the key process of that is getting data into Splunk. And so the Edge Hub is a actual hardware device that has our own intellectual property technology inside that allows you to gather information from parts of the business that we just haven't been able to gather data from easily in the past. So for example, Splunk itself is really great in the IT space. We disrupted that market 10, 12 years ago, and there's all types of data that you can get within your IT infrastructure. But now you start looking at factories and all the way out to the edge of the organization, remote utility situations, transportation scenarios, retail. There's data out there as well. And some of our partners and customers have gone through the very agonizing process of getting that into Splunk. Now we've streamlined that. And the Edge Hub is the easy button to get that edge data into the Splunk platform, where we can do that magic of what our data analytics platform does.
Okay, that's interesting. So what are the key features of the Edge Hub when compared to the full fat version of Splunk? What are the sort of key features then?
Yeah, well, the key features are, again, all about getting data in. We call it GDI because you have to have a 3-letter acronym for everything. So GDI, getting data in, again, this data comes from a variety of different protocols. And so there's two key elements. Number one, we've housed some environmental sensors in the device itself. So by the time you actually, at the moment of which you plug the device in, you're sending environmental data, temperature, light, humidity, different types of things immediately over to Splunk. So for some use cases, that's extremely valuable to know what the environment that you're in is there. Second thing is we have this very intelligent operating system inside, call it the Edge OS, and it allows you to translate protocols from a variety of different devices. So now you can have things like QTT, OPC UA, Modbus, Profinet. These are all the way that these systems out in the edge talk. And again, those have been difficult in the past, but now we streamline that information right into Splunk. And then the third thing that I'll mention is we actually built this with enough processing power, a very nice processing engine on the end, where now you can actually start to run apps on the edge in containers. So this concept of actually local intelligence with your data, as opposed to sending it up to the cloud and bringing it all the way back, is now available as well.
Excellent. I'm going to pick up on that later on, actually. That's a really good point. I'm going to hand over to you now, Becca, because I'm going to exploit your knowledge of the Edge Hub as well. Could you sort of give an insight into how the Edge Hub handles data ingestion and indexing compared to the full fat version of Splunk?
So the Splunk Edge Hub itself is more kind of a specialized kind of forwarder for the IoT data. So it comes into Splunk via a HEC connection, and then it just gets indexed the metric data that comes in. So it gets indexed very similar to as you would expect on your regular Splunk. I would say the Edge Hub itself is more of a different kind of forwarder, but it works very similar in the way to Splunk would kind of do it normally. So there would be very minimal noticeable changes for the user and kind of how their data is indexed. And yeah, again, it goes into an index like you would on a normal Splunk one. So in order to search that data as well, it would just be the same as searching any normal metrics index.
I see. Okay. So then, and then Lerry sort of touched on sort of deployment options as well for that. So it can be deployed on-prem, in the cloud, or in a sort of hybrid environment. There's no sort of limitations on its deployability at all.
No. It's completely compatible with most of the Splunk features, either if that's on-prem or on cloud. The only thing is that it's only compatible with enterprise version 9.0 or higher. So as long as you've got an up-to-date version of Splunk, you're going to have no problems getting the Edge Hub on board.
Right. Okay. So then, Larry, I'll come back to you if that's all right.
Okay.
The types of data sources. Now, I get the sense from what you said earlier, and certainly my understanding is there's no limit on any of the sort of data sources that the Edge Hub supports. But could you sort of expand on that at all? I mean, you mentioned earlier about, and my understanding is that if something's got a sensor on it and something is generating data, then actually there's no reason why it can't be ingested into the Edge Hub. Is that right?
Theoretically.
Oh,
So,
right. Okay.
I always like to play in the world of reality versus theoretically.
Excellent.
And, there's always going to be challenges because a lot of this industrial data particularly has been around for half a century. Some of them don't even have sensors on them. They aren't even digital.
Yeah.
So you have to go through a process. And again, this is where our partners are so key. They understand that with this domain expertise, they understand kind of what those environments look like and what needs to happen. Having said that, most new systems, newer systems that people are putting in, like the robots into the manufacturing space or these new data centers, they come highly digitized, and they're sending off events, and we can collect all of that data. Again, they speak different protocols.
Right.
So we've started the Edge Hub with a variety of the most popular protocols, some of which I mentioned earlier, but there's always going to be new protocols, new types of things where we'll continue to evolve and expand the base.
Right.
Again, it's really a great tool for a partner who has the domain expertise that can help a customer very quickly take advantage of understanding, the machines on their factory floor and any issues that may be coming up or how the problem occurred, any of those types of things. Most of those things, just like 10 years ago in the IT space, most of them are siloed, and the great opportunity is to kind of create that big picture view with Splunk.
I see. Okay, because I think I'm sure I've seen something, a video, or when we've been talking about it before, and you mentioned the manufacturing space. A luxury German car manufacturer uses this quite effectively. I wonder if you could sort of expand on that and say how that's being used to essentially refine and bring that level of extra resilience, if you like, to their processes, and what are the business benefits for them?
Yeah, no, we see this a lot with many of our customers. In the automotive manufacturer, we've been fortunate enough to work with a few companies, and you think of the world in terms of KPIs, and in the IT world, it's just become expected that you're going to be at 5 nines. It's easy, right? You have to operate at 5 nines. You have to keep those service agreements. In the factory, it's that would be a huge luxury. There's so many things, so many different pieces that can happen. So there's a variety of systems that kind of manage that. What the data that we've heard from a KPIs perspective from most automobile manufacturers is like every time that a factory is down for 5 minutes, 3 less cars come off that day. So you can do the math somewhere between 75 to 125K, right? You multiply that times 3. Now, the issue is just discovering among those 6 systems, where is the problem? That's usually another 10 minutes. So now you're looking at 15 minutes. So before you've even started to fix the problem, you're about $750,000 into the issue. Now you add the time to remediation. So these numbers are staggering. You think about what you want to be able to do in terms of quality control. And again, for every time that a car comes off and it has to come back into a bay for something as simple as adjusting a decal or moving something, you're talking about $10,000 loss off that vehicle in terms of time for the productivity for the day. So the KPIs and the SLAs are immense. And now that people are investing so much more, these robots are hugely expensive. How do you keep those things up and running? That's really what Splunk is trying to do when you talk about resilience at the edge, is make sure that we can get companies closer to the 5 nines of IT out into the OT world.
I see. Okay. And so, and then Becca, just to sort of pick up on something that was touched on earlier on about the Edge Hub, and its ability to integrate more broadly. Can I just confirm it can integrate with existing IT infrastructure and third-party apps as well? Is it fairly seamless, that integration?
So yeah, it's built to kind of go on top of any pre-existing like sensor network that you may have set up. Like I said, I mentioned earlier with the containerization, that allows for a much more versatile way of being able to integrate as well. So yeah, I'd say it integrates really well with most things really. Any pre-existing sensor network that you've got set up, as long as it kind of communicates in a digital way, it can be set up with the Edge Hub. I'm not saying it could communicate with a thermostat on the wall where it's all manually read, but anything digital, it would be really, really good for, really good fit.
Okay. And then going back to your manufacturing point then, Lerry, the monitoring and alerting capabilities, can you expand on those? What does the Splunk Edge Hub offer to business?
Yeah, so again, it's just when you think of the Edge Hub in these new environments, you're really just taking this data and for the first time putting it into Splunk very easily, right? And so for our customers who have done it the hard way, right, they're looking at things. We take advantage of the power of Splunk, for example, for anomaly detection, right? If all of a sudden something that has been running within this current band for a while, from a temperature perspective or any other type of metric starts moving out, that's an immediate alert. And we can send that to a dashboard, we can send that to a phone, we can send that to however our partners have wired that to be the communication method. So again, it's that power of Splunk that we want to bring. It's that real-time visibility. Some people are looking at augmented reality with regards to, the manufacturing space. So keeping the hands free and then being able to look and see what's happening in those spaces. So it's all the power of Splunk that you're used to. It's just with a different data set and looking at different problem sets and different types of assets as opposed to what we've done in the IT space.
Yeah, I think I seem to remember there was a marketing video with showing the augmented reality associated use case around a some sort of hydropower sort of plant and very complex machinery. I mean, probably not as complex as a motor manufacturing plant, but lots of sensors, lots of data. But when something was wrong, essentially it sort of flagged it up on a dashboard, and then an engineer was able to go straight to the heart of the problem and to rectify that early on, and therefore essentially saving a lot of time and effort, and as you said, business outage in the process. So I see. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about just briefly the partner program. So you're as Somerford are key partners of Splunk, of course, as we all know. Can you sort of explain a little bit more about the partner program for us?
Okay, yeah. So the Edge Hub itself is a purely partner program. So we handle everything throughout the transaction of actually buying the hub itself. We then work with the customer in order to kind of get it all set up, any indexes that may be needed to be created, and also setting up that initial connection between your Edge Hub and Splunk via the HEC. We then provide ongoing support throughout their journey with Edge Hub, whether that be through setting up dashboards, alerts, kind of expanding their Edge Hub network. But yeah, we're there for you every step of the way.
There for you every step of the way. My goodness me, you've drunk the Kool-Aid, haven't you? And the Lerry's talked about the motor manufacturer. What about examples over in have you seen? What are you seeing its application in the UK, and are they broadly similar?
I'd say we've had a very kind of good wide range of use cases with customers coming towards us. A really exciting one we've got at the moment is looking at predictive maintenance. So by being able to ingest and understand the data that's being produced via the sensors, you can learn more about the machinery that you're monitoring. And that knowledge comes with so much more power in being able to determine when something goes down, when a certain piece of machinery might need a service, to kind of really mitigate any downtime that there may be. And obviously the cost savings associated with that are, as Lerry mentioned, really kind of quite extensive. So we're working really much along with those lines. That can integrate very well with Splunk ITSI as well, getting those that sensor data into your KPIs as well, which can be absolutely invaluable for a lot of people. We've also been looking a lot at warehouse monitoring. So by putting a digital sensor, it saves so much time with like human error. So instead of having somebody go around and read sensors individually, where there might be some kind of it's a time process, and there's always a room for kind of discrepancies with human error. Being able to put it into and have those data coming into Splunk as well just saves so much more time and money.
Right. Okay. But I mean, presumably though, as a if you're applying the same sort of methodology to aircraft manufacturer, and let's say you're still not going to take a human out of the loop, are you, for this?
No, I think it's about alerting, right? I mean, you look at the massive amount of data and the tremendous amount of tasks that these people have to do, right? They just need help to kind of find where is that problem set. I mean, it really goes back to the founding of Splunk, right? Our founders sat in a data center and tried to figure out between 6 or 7 different systems what was going down, what was causing the problems. And that's really always been our bread and butter and our key. And so it fits really well in these environments. I just want to add to real quickly, because the importance of Somerford here is when we started to bring this solution to market, we recognized that not all Splunk partners were able to really assist us. We needed a combination of Splunk domain expertise and the customer domain expertise and the industry domain expertise around these OT and IoT sensors. That's what's unique about this program. So there's a very small set, very elite, I like to think of it as a very elite set of partners that are initially involved in this program. They're so key to its success.
Absolutely, elite, 100%. And what about technical support then? What for an organization that employs this, to what extent is there sort of organic technical support? What can they rely on? Is it readily available? I mean,
yeah, so when they're buying the Edge Hub for us to get access to our support desk as well, available 9 to 5, got a 1-hour response time on our initial email, which is all really good. And we can help with any issue really, whether that be Edge Hub related, whether sometimes it may need to be escalated to Splunk, but normally we can provide that support in-house and get the issues rectified and get you up and running again in no time at all.
Fingers crossed, absolutely. I've got another one for you then, Larry. We're talking about scalability, actually. Could you just sort of give an insight into the extent to which it can scale as data volume and user load increases? I mean, is that quite easy to do? Again,
it's really that core value of Splunk Enterprise, which is one of the most scalable platforms in the industry, and that's why we have the type of customers that we have. I get excited thinking about this space because the IT world is great, and we'll continue to be the best in Premier, and we'll win all the Gartner Awards for security and observability. That will never go away. What we're adding to this, though, is if you think about the amount of data and the amount of value that can be created in type of factory environment, or for any of these types of manufacturers, or for people who are monitoring these new data centers. I heard recently from the CEO of NVIDIA that $1 trillion over the next 4 years will be spent on new data centers as people convert from CPU to GPUs. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of money and power that's now being put in these very small rooms. You have to make sure, again, that everything is operating very, very well. So I look at the volume. I look at not only, not from a revenue perspective, but from a scalability perspective, that what companies really want to be able to and need to be able to monitor and correlate in real time. That's a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous need in the industry.
Of course, that's sort of reinforcing that, I guess, that reliability aspect as well.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, as you were saying earlier, the idea that outages have a massive effect on some significant organizations.
If I can just add, one of my favorite sayings to people is, if you're 99% secure, you're not secure. Right. So there's not much room for error in these as you start to look at these. Very little room for error.
Of course. And talking about security, though, I think I read somewhere that actually the Splunk Edge Hub offers additional security. Is that right? How does that work?
Well, again, it's the same philosophy. If you're looking to secure your environment right now, you're looking at a subset of probably all of the different assets that you have in your organization. So simply by providing the data in an easier way, you can now extend your security posture and your blueprint broader across the organization, just because you're now having access to data. So again, it's just bring that data into Splunk. You can start to do those security things with a different set of data sets.
Right,
so
okay.
You're just extending your secure level.
I was just wondering though. So if the sensors are at the edge, then presumably if a threat is identified, it is because it's further out, I guess. Is it easier to can you detect it quicker and therefore deal with it more effectively?
Again, I think the jury's still out on that in terms of I think you'll be able to once you understand the data set. We don't have an app. We haven't built that app yet for security at the edge because that has to run locally and has to do those types of things. Not to say that we can't. And of course, now with our new relationship with Cisco, the sky's the limit in terms of what we can do there. However, certainly having that what do they call it, the canary in the coal mine, further out to start raising alerts and can get the persons motivated to start looking sooner.
Yeah, I see. And I guess with the massive growth in IoT, the ability to sort of be able to ingest that data and are you seeing much evidence of that at all, where it's because data sources are becoming more varied and essentially all contributing to create a broader picture of the business environment? Do you see much evidence of that?
Yeah, massively. I think there is a really big need now for that like IoT level data to be coming into Splunk, because it is a really key part of a lot of key performance indicators for so much data across so many different organizations. There's 100% the need for it. And I think that need is growing as well quite rapidly. So I think the Edge Hub is perfect timing.
Okay. And it's deployability. It's easy to deploy, I guess, is it?
Well, I would think you would have to ask Becca on that for sure, but we believe that it is. It's really truly vertically integrated, and not joking when I say when you put it on and you turn it on and it finds the Splunk enterprise license, it's populating already. So immediately you're starting to see those environmental sensor data, and then as your expert partner Somerford start connecting different types of pieces. It's. I think this is the greatest thing. If you look at the kind of the history of the IoT monitoring or the OT monitoring, it's kind of been a build it yourself. People have provided a lot of tools and different things. We've tried to make it very simple to get started and to bring in that data very rapidly.
Okay, and I guess the last one for me. I mean, inevitably, there's constantly pressure on resources, reducing costs and stuff like that. I mean, from what you say, it sounds as if this is an ideal capability for those organizations, enterprise organizations that are really trying to manage their costs at every level, and therefore this really contributes to essentially to those as a cost saving measure. Would that be fair?
No, absolutely fair. I think I feel bad for CIOs and CISOs today in today's world. The amount of pressure, not only from a cost perspective, but the regulatory environment, the things that they have to sign off, the reports that they have to create, all those things that they have to manage. And now you have, outside interests making sure. So, for example, the concept of sustainability is a very, very important topic right now, and they at the board level. And so they're being tasked with, okay, how do we make sure we bring down our carbon emissions, and how do we show that we're being good stewards of our power and energy? All of these things can't be managed unless they're measured. And so again, the Edge Hub just provides that first level of here's where you are. And by the way, if you get out of this type of range, you're probably going to create some problems. And that's what really Splunk has always been. So we just want to bring that, like I said, we just want to bring that out to the edge, include more of that data to help those companies have a much broader view of what's going on in their business.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, sustainability, a massive issue. And, and I've certainly spoken to some organizations where as part of their environmental, social and governance agenda, sustainability, and exactly as you say, Larry, the CIOs are having to answer to their boards about exactly what the impact of this sort of growth in a variety of IT is having on their sustainability impact. So, I mean, last word to you then, Becca, I guess, is where do you see it progressing next then? What's the next step?
I think the Edge Hub is so versatile. It could literally go in any direction. There's such wide range of use cases. It can be whatever the customer wants it to be, and we can build it around exactly. So I think it can literally go in any direction at this point.
You agree with that?
I do. I think it's really what the customers are looking to solve, but in the hands of the domain experts that can make that happen. Again, we think we've created a very powerful tool, but data is I always think of data as a big bowl of Jell-O, and then you have to figure out what mold do you want to actually solve, and do you want to put it in, and how do you want to use that. So again, we're completely dependent on the domain expertise and the knowledge base of our partners to kind of take this and bring it to market. Our sales team is very aware of Edge Hub. They're out talking about it with their customers, but when it comes to the opportunity to actually engage with the customer, that is partner only, and we're super excited about what we can do with Somerford.
Well, Lerry, so are we, and we're excited as well, actually. And thank you ever so much for for giving up your time. We know you've got a busy schedule while you're here, so thanks ever so much. And of course, Becca, thanks you as well.
Thank you.